thank you all for coming out to tonight's workshop. I know we missed last week, but we're back and we're ready to continue to move the city forward. Just an announcement before we get started. As you know, protocol, we do not have signs in the chamber. Please do not raise up a sign or have a sign, and it's very disruptive, not only for the council, but also for the individuals that's trying to to speak or to see us as the meeting continue. Also, please be respectful and turn off your cell phones so there will be no disruption. And also, when individuals are at the dais speaking, please be respectful. Also for the council, be respectful when someone else is speaking. If you would like to speak, you will fill out a citizen comment form. Also, our council meeting is next week, where you also can speak on any item that's on the agenda. We will now have a presentation. Madam Secretary.
PR 24011. Youth Advisory Commission will be presenting their accomplishments and achievements to council for the year.
Thank you, thank you. We're just waiting for her to come to the podium and get our youth.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to introduce you to a couple of our Youth Advisory Commissioners this evening. This evening, I'd like to introduce Harmony Morales. She's our Secretary, and Shayla Levitt, who is our Vice Chair.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you have the clicker? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Whenever you're ready.
So we are the Youth Advisory Commission, and right now we are presenting our biannual report for 2024.
Our membership includes our president, VJ Brown, who is not with us right now, our vice chair, me, Shayla Levitt, our treasurer, Soraya, and our secretary, Harmony Morales. We have 37 commissioners, 58 resource members, and 39 junior Youth Advisory Commission members.
Okay. So we were created in 1993 to serve as a liaison to the Killeen City Council. Our mission statement is to provide the youth of our community opportunities through volunteerism, service, by taking initiatives that are directed towards effective change. We offer our opportunities to make lifelong friendships. We represent YC in the city of Killeen at various events. We make a positive impact on our community, and we also develop and enhance leadership skills.
We have 4 pods, actually, and it is leadership, who Jake is in charge of that, volunteerism, which is maybe, and she's over there, drug and alcohol-free youth activities, which I am in charge of, and outreach, which is Harvey is in charge of.
So we have many past events since our last biannual report. So we have done youth conference, we have worked at the Fall Fest Haunted Mansion, our JYC has done our toy drive, and just many other events like our TML.
We did multiple volunteer activities with the City of Killeen, including the tree lighting ceremony, the Jingle Bell Dash, the 5K run, tree recycling, daddy-daughter dance, Love Your Park, and Spring Fest.
And we do have many future events to come, like our teen night at the water park is on May 30th. We have junior leaders in training happening in the summer. Our Off the Record is also happening in the summer, as well as our YC leaders in training.
We have made a lot of accomplishments in this year. We have our banquet this Saturday, and collectively we have a total of 2,863 hours. Youth conference we did for the first time since 2019, and we had 222 attendees from 11 schools. And we went to TML, we brought 11 people, and then we did the Christmas parade this year for the first time with 29 members.
In conclusion, for our future plans for the 2024 to 2025 term, we want to recruit by developing a stronger relationship and presence within the Killeen Independent School District. We also want to reach through the means of continuing our initiatives to create events and programs that address and meet the needs of the youth in our community. We also want to represent by building effective relationships with our civic and community leaders so we can better represent and articulate the needs of our peers. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank both of you. The Youth Advisory Commission has done some excellent things this year, and we're looking forward to greater things in the future. Are there any more Youth Advisory members? If so, please stand up. Thank you all for what you do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem.
Wow, what a way to come back to a meeting, to see my mayor to my left, and to see the youth out there giving us a good report. This is a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will have items for discussion at work. Do it, anyone else? Okay. Items for discussion at workshop. Madam Secretary.
DS 24031, Killeen Economic Development Corporation update.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Connell.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to give our quarterly update. A lot going on, and we want to thank you all for your support, and we appreciate your involvement and as you know, 3 of y'all sit on the EDC board, so thanks for your time and attention there. This happens to be Economic Development Week in the United States. So our national association, it's international now, International Economic Development Council, identifies 1 week in May every year to highlight economic development going on and the activities and programs that local communities, states, regions do throughout the world. And so just as I was doing this presentation, I realized it's this week, so I wanted to, just gives us an opportunity to say thank you to a lot of folks who make the economy work. And first off, the companies who are invested in this community. These are entrepreneurs, these are large corporations, small corporations who have said, this is a place I want to be, and we really appreciate the opportunity that they bring in their investment in the community, the jobs that they create, and the impact they make every day. Their representation goes worldwide, and we really appreciate that. So you can't, that's what we're here to do, is to get more companies. So thank them we think of them for what they've done. And then the partnerships that put it all together in so many different ways. Obviously in the EDC, it's the city chamber. We act as the staff and contract for that. The Industrial Foundation has offers up some of the nominations to the actual board members, and then the Fort Hood Regional EDF is an adjunct group that helps fund on the efforts beyond the funding from KEDC. So we really appreciate the entities, and as soon as you put names on a slide, that's all you're going to miss some people, but. We do a lot with our partners, and city staff are critical to that partnership. We also work with real estate firms and utilities, legal, workforce entities, finance, engineering. You're going to see some of that in the slides, but we can't do what we do. It's called a team effort, as they say in our business, and we appreciate all that happens throughout the year for us as staff. One of the big news in the last quarter is we have new staff. I want to introduce Kelly Halstead. I don't think she's here today. She'll have to make it this afternoon. She comes to us with a great deal of experience, and we're very excited to have her already on board, moving fast on a lot of projects. She came from us from Fort Dodge, Iowa, where she had worked both at the local level at Fort Dodge, but also at the state level, and done some international work. So her knowledge and training has already been evident in the staff, and excited to have her on board, moving into the city and taking on some projects already. I want to first always like to go back in and give you the updates on some things that you were involved in and we've worked on, so that you understand where we stand on this. Dongjian Semichem, if you remember, is building a $70 million project. The numbers that are already coming in much higher than that investment. Always nice to see folks go beyond that. They have already hired their 17 staff members that they expected to. They're in the kind of a ramp-up process right now of testing equipment. The construction is, for the most part, done, as you can see, and it's a beautiful campus. They see themselves in getting to full production sometime later in this quarter. But we really appreciate them and their engagement. If you're not familiar, they make some products that end up going into a semiconductor chip manufacturing process. MGC Pure Chemicals, also a company that makes a different type of product that goes into that semiconductor supply chain. At your last quarter, you approved incentives for this project. They immediately began construction. So the 5 acres that the EDC sold to them last year, they've already mobilized that entire site. Construction well underway. We still see it probably summertime next year before they complete that process. So if you're out there, you can see cranes and all sorts of things going on. As you also remember, KEDC on its own did incentives for Southern Roots Brewery in the first quarter, in addition to what maybe the city's done. So we are looking forward to that. Construction, as you know, is underway. Mostly at this point, it's demo or clear out of what the facility already has in place, and we see construction to take about a year. That's the timing that we have for spring of next year. USAMM in fall of 2022, we approved, KEDC finalized the sale of about 6 acres, 5 to 6 acres at the corner of Twin Creek Drive and Ricky Carlisle for USAMM. It's a local company that produces uniform accessories, ribbons, the racks, the patches for the military industry particularly. They run a large website on sales, so it's both an e-commerce and a production facility. They are moving, they're in a 10,000 square foot, they're moving to 25, we'll be building a 25,000 square foot building. We had their groundbreaking just last week, and it's always nice to see things kind of moving ahead. So you're just gonna see some dirt flying already. Also, Siddons Martin Emergency Group, always thanks to the partnership that comes into this, and Chief Kaminsky who got us connected on this. Building came available, and they leased that last year. They moved very quickly to fully operate that facility. They tell us that they thought it would take them several years before they use it all up. Now they're completely utilizing the facility. They have 3 different partner businesses that they've chosen to move into that, both the truck sales, truck service, and some accident repair facilities. So they had equipment out there the other day with the ribbon cutting. They had material trucks from New York State, all over the state of Texas. It's amazing what they do, and great. They had, not to say too much about their words, it's their words, but they were very complimentary of their ability to get the talent that they needed to work on this equipment. It's a specialized type of work in a variety of ways, and we're very fortunate to have Fort Cavazos and the staff comes out of that was ready to go for them. So a great testament and great a business to have in our market to tell our good story. We also, last year, sold 5 acres next to Bell County Glass to Bell County Glass. And in this time, over the last month, the partnership that they have is with a group called Workspace USA to build, they have an industrial park, a small industrial park in North Georgetown. They're going to duplicate this here. I like to say in our business, we're in the real estate business. That's the first question in the ED process is real estate. Do you have a building of XYZ? So, but I also like to say we're kind of in the clothing business. We have to have all the sizes. So this company focuses in on small buildings in the 2 to 10,000 square foot range, allows small businesses to be able to actually own their own building, which is a rarity. When you're small, you're usually in the lease scenario, and that's just a really interesting dynamic that we're excited to see them happening. They're developing their site plans, working with the city staff on all that. We appreciate their partnership because this is a unique concept that's coming together. We see them working to get under development by summertime and have it ready for occupancies by spring of next year. So stay tuned. The one thing I want to talk a little bit more about, we are also in the process of acquiring property. KEDC is. We've had this on our radar since I got here a couple of years ago. The big key thing is we're very limited on our ability to service or provide places for businesses in Killeen Business Park. As you know, we've sold some properties, and as you sell, you don't have that available any longer. So we've got approximately 95 acres under contract with at the southeast corner of 195 and Stagecoach. We are at the last bit of developing the final documents for closing on the property. If you remember, it's in the overlay district for the university. On this map, the university is just on the west side of that shot. So we think it's a great complement to what's going on at the university in their research park. So sometimes companies start to produce a product and need to be somewhere else or be close to it. So we expect to be closing on the sale of this property, on the purchase of this property sometime in the next month, actually. When I did this, we knew it was still in the half, but in the last week, it's gotten very busy, and we do think that we're getting to closing sometime in the month of May. So we're very excited about that. We haven't been sitting on our processes waiting on this. We moved very quickly when we went under contract to begin to look at it from an engineering point of view, because you just don't sell a piece of land. We sell developed property, and that's what a business park really is. So we've contracted to have initial engineering drawings out to kind of understand the site, drainage, what's already on the property, topo, those kind of issues. So we're starting to line out how the roads would go, and existing infrastructure, what infrastructure we need to go. So the next step for us is really costing out our development costs. We also did environmental work on the site to do the testing. I like to say if we're selling property, we're not just selling property, we're selling information. It's not, here's the work that we know can be done. We have the phase 1 environmental study, we've got natural resources assessments, geotech. We did some soil borings, and over the wintertime, it's been raining. It was raining quite a bit, so that took a little bit longer than a couple months extra to get that done into February. But we really think that the information that we can provide advances the time schedule for a company who might actually need to be on that site. If we can save the 4 or 5, 6 months it takes to do the evaluations, it really does allow them to move. And time is money, as they say in business. So we've been working on all this in anticipation of being able to quickly put the property on the market and be able to really be able to tell the story on it quickly. Also, in the first quarter, we leased some of the Blackboard building, what we call Blackboard building. They leased it for a long time, so it still has the name on it and the sign. It's a 55,000 square foot building set up as a call center in the industrial park, something we've known for, 20 years now. Call centers are everybody's gone home. The COVID scenario changed the actions of those kind of facilities. So we feel really great. The tenant is actually the contractor for the MGC project across the street from that. So they came to us and said, hey, we'd love to have a little extra space. Can we utilize some of this? So we negotiated a good lease. As part of that process, the building had been dormant for a number of years. So it's really got us going back in and fixing, doing a lot of improvements. A roof project had been slated for this since the summer. We got done in the first quarter, so that has a whole new roof. We updated the security system, fire system. We've repaired parking lot lights, HVAC units, signage, plumbing, fiber lines, telecom systems, you name it. We've spent a lot of money on this in the last couple of months. But it's not wasteful money. It's money that needed to be done because the facility hadn't been used. Buildings are life. They're active buildings. They're active facilities that must be flush toilets, lights on, those kind of things to keep everything going. So it just kind of gave us an opportunity. And by doing that, we think it's really, because there's just a small portion of the building, we think it's prepared us for whoever might be able to utilize the rest of it, and where we are now ready to be able to provide a fully operating building going forward. So it's a good investment for us, and we didn't go crazy, but it still has 1980s pink pink doors and things like that on there. So it still needs some renovations when somebody utilizes it, upgrades. But the core parts of the things to make sure that the systems all work is real important. And we've had a commitment to that for a very long time, but this has really kind of got us operating better. We also kind of work a lot, as you know, with private landowners and developers in getting real estate. We don't sell just KEDC properties. We sell the whole city. So our role is to tell the whole story. We want to get companies in any way we can. And there's a building that has been in the industrial park. Interestingly enough, it was built by the KEDC years and years ago, back in the 90s, I believe, early 2000 maybe. 30,000 square foot building. It was sitting unutilized, and we were very actively encouraging of getting this on the market in the last year. It did sell in the first quarter to an investor out of Austin, Emerson Group. They have immediately gone in and renovating this facility, put a new roof on it. They have plans for new dock space, new docks, painting the whole thing, parking lot resurfaced, lots of great upgrades to make this. And this is at the corner of Twin Creek and Swanner Loop. So we're very excited about this being in a position where tenants can be ready to go right into it. It can be a multi-tenant, so it could address a lot of our needs. 30,000 square feet is a real good opportunity. So we're seeing that. And just in our marketing, part of that is we've already had 2 clients that we've already shown that building to. We're so tight on facilities that this is a real opportunity. We've had just in the quarter 3 site submittals, 2 real estate development groups that we're working on various different real estate industrial facilities in the market. We did have some advanced conversation or some conversation with the real estate team on a grocery store. That process is still underway. It's a lot going that I would just say constantly conversations, nothing advanced in anything, but we do think that this is important for us to as we interact with developers, we're understanding what their needs are, and part of it is understanding. They keep asking us, what are we willing to do? But part of what we're realizing is it's really, what do you need? And every developer is a little bit different, so I think you'll hear more in the coming months with city staff on some things that are moving on that, on how we'll go about that. And then, of course, we hosted the annual Research Park Summit in the beginning of the year as well. One of the things we do, we're here, once they come, doesn't mean we're done with the clients, and we've worked with both Dongjin and MGC Pure Chemicals over the course of the last 6 months on if you're familiar with the CHIPS Act, the Federal CHIPS Act, it is an investment that the federal government is doing to assist anyone in the semiconductor industry grow in the U.S. You've heard the big boys like the Samsungs and the Intels and Texas Instruments. You hear a lot of opportunity there, but the real promise to the United States is the supplier base that's going to come with this. The MGCs, the Dongjins, and other companies who have to sell product to these guys. We assist them in their applications, some of their applications for CHIPS Act funding through the federal government. We understand they're moving ahead, so we're excited to see how that might help them advance their investment in our market. Over the course of the last few months, we've been active as much as we can with shorthanded in the staff, but one of the key things we did was partner with our friends in Temple on when we went to California early in the year, Los Angeles, to meet with some companies, tell the regional story. Sometimes it's a great way to both save some money, share the costs associated with that, but also tell what all is going on, because the workforce is all together the same. The dynamics of the county are all the same, and I think it really helps us to tell that the message together. And then we also took a larger group. There's a larger group in our region called Grand Central Texas that includes Belton and Coppers Cove and Waco and Cameron and Lampasas. So much a true regional group. We took a trip to Atlanta and South Carolina in late March, meeting with site location consultants and real estate firms, some that are in the process of, so that they are the middleman that assists the companies who are needing space and needing locations. And so if they know what's going on in our region and why we have some uniqueness, what is it that happens here that could be viable to a business, they'll remember us when they have that kind of a client come along and we get those opportunities. So they become our place where we market. It's easier to kind of gravitate to a smaller group than to try to get everybody in the world. So that was a great trip, and we're excited about the follow-up that comes out of that area. I've run through a whole lot of stuff going on just that we've done since the first of the year, but I'm happy to answer any questions about anything.
Thank you so much for your update. KEDC is doing excellent work for the city of Killeen. Councilmember Sagara.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to first off say, great presentation. I think that it's real in-depth, and a lot of times, we get a lot of citizens that really don't understand or know what's going on in our community. And as leaders, I know we hear that a lot. We hear that, there's nothing happening, there's no jobs, and hearing this presentation, it's complete opposite. And you guys are doing a fantastic job in bringing a lot. I did a couple of groundbreaking and ribbon cuttings and stuff like that. So you guys keep us pretty busy, so that's always a good thing. And we're excited about all the good companies that are coming. But it's always that thorn. We still have that thorn with the grocery store, and you kind of mentioned it. And and I know that those are things that we really cannot control. We're trying to get as hard as we can to bring one in here. But my question is, I know we've talked to a lot of people out there, a lot of different companies out there. But if you had to pinpoint, if you got to say, what is probably the biggest reason why we're having such a hard time bringing it to the north part of town, what would you say that is?
Oh, that's. I think it's the dynamic of the grocery store business right now in Texas. It's dominated by very large companies, and their focuses are in different ways. You may be familiar that H-E-B is making a huge presence into the Dallas area now. That's just like consuming their focus. There's some of the bigger players in the state that are not in our region yet, or had pulled out, Kroger's, Albertsons, those kind of things. So the large players are really the thing. And retail also is associated with other development. So it's part of a shopping center, for example, many times. It's not a singular building. So the relationship of a developer who drives that course of action and investment is really the partnership. And I think that we see is maybe the opportunity is identifying the developer who can bring those building grocery relationships. So those are the two things I think that drive that industry in the state. I don't think it's anything negative. You just got to get in the system to the developers and to the companies, and I think that's just where we stand. And getting the rights, identifying the site that we all really are identified. So.
Yeah, and I think at the end, it just comes to making profit, because I was, the mayor when H-E-B pulled up, and I know they were losing like $40,000 a month, and that's kind of one of the biggest reasons that they pulled out, and so they have to be profitable, I think, in the end.
Certainly, certainly. I think we can get the right place and the right story for them. So, but it's a timing thing. It's going to take some time.
And my last question, I ask you this every time you come up here, and I know we don't give up, but Anthem Park, you heard anything about that? Is that still moving along? Or?
It is moving along, and in fact, I think maybe your staff could probably tell you a little bit more about some of the details. But I know that they are looking that the Dave & Buster's has already acquired their property. They're working through some of the construction issues right now, and then I think there's some development issues that are moving forward. So the process continues as they identify ways. I don't know, I can't speak to the details of the transportation, but it's a network, it's relationships with DOT. Those conversations are active and transportation studies are underway. So it's behind the scenes kind of work right now, but it is all very development focused right now.
No, that's good news.
Yeah.
I drive by it all the time, and it just kind of, I don't see anything moving. It gets me worried, so I'm glad
No,
that
it's-
you give us that update.
Yeah,
So,
it's happening. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. There's a process to it,
Yeah.
and we saw the very early stages of the process when you went through the tours, and now it's engineering work and a lot of other things that are going to go into the final details of it.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, you're welcome. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First question I have is on a Wolf technology project. Is you foresee any changes to the road in that area, like 195 and?
No, we'll probably, I mean, we won't address that at all, no. I think our key is just getting to the right, working with DOT to get to the right entrance ways. Yeah.
Okay. The other question is, as 14 is developed, and we have a lot of truck drivers in the city who've asked for places to park, and our neighborhood roads can't support a lot of the large vehicles rolling over them. You foresee or any discussion on, I know we have a couple of empty lots where businesses have left along the expressway, but I know those are traffic issues as well. Have there been any discussion, or will there be any discussion on addressing some truck parking?
I worked with city staff on that over the course of the last year, looking at trying to figure that one out. It's a complicating issue simply because they want to be closer to the transportation network of interstate. Business Park is a little bit farther away. There may be an opportunity there at some point in time, but there's some zoning issues, is my understanding, just in terms of how that might be the appropriate, which sites are really available to do that. There's some limitations that we have. It's not a business you can make money on just like leasing out space for trucks.
Right.
It's just, and given the vibe, the cost of real estate, it's just kind of hard to do. So I do know that it's actually on this TxDOT's radar. They recognize that that's an issue because if nothing else, there's a timing for truckers on how long they can drive, and they've got to stop for periods of time. There's some things like that. So a lot of that is, if you've seen like the commercial entities like the Pilots and the Loves, they're building on their parking areas because they recognize it's something they can offer up. That may be the way we try to figure this one out here in the community, is to look at it from a commercial standpoint, somebody who can put in a large lot refueling station and see how we can do that. But we have to decide how that fits into the commercial properties in town.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Connell, for the presentation. I think everything that you've shown on there and talked about is they're all exciting. Obviously, one of the most exciting ones for us is the possibility or potential for a grocery store here in North Killeen. And you made mention of some partners, so I wanted to make sure that we kind of gave credit where credit was due. And I know IBCC has done some work in
sure,
that regard, so I want to
absolutely.
make sure we give thanks to them.
Yeah, we
I
appreciate
believe
the work that.
Mr. Russell's here, so look forward to seeing where all this kind of fleshes out, and they'll make sure that those partnerships are nurtured and thriving. So, but thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam. And so I was going to actually touch on that as well. One thing that I was really proud about was our community partnerships, right, was the public and the private partnership, working together with other organizations such as IBCC. That's really important to our continued growth. So I am thankful for you guys for constantly being open to that. And then also stepping outside of our box when it comes to thinking about different opportunities for our area. Councilmember Segarra asked the question about the grocery store in Northside. So I just want to be clear that they are still actively working on that. So those wheels are still 100% in motion. But I think that also to the point that Mr. Connell made, there's an additional concern where we're seeing the big box stores moving into the bigger areas and the bigger markets. The challenge on the flip side is that we identified already that we need more right-sized grocery here on our side of town. But unfortunately, those companies that we're finding outside of our area are not necessarily ready to scale. And so that's also been a challenge that we're finding. But there are people still actively engaged, so they are still working on that for us to find the right size for our north side. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page there, that we are still actively working on that. You also mentioned, and thank you, Councilmember Adams, for the truck parking, because at the beginning, when I first got on the council, we were working with several constituents who were trying to solve this issue, and to Mr. Connell's point, and to find the right location and things like that were a challenge. That has come back up again, and so that conversation is actually also being stimulated regarding finding that the right size. While it might not be a moneymaker necessarily, but we do have service providers in our area. So one of the things I want to make sure that when we're looking at our growth and expansion, our quality of life and things like that, that when we have people that are serving our communities or serving the communities around us, that we're also able to find a way to make their lives peaceable. So if we know we have an issue with regards to our truckers and them parking, a lot of their livelihoods are here, they chose to live here, we want to make sure that we can also find a way to accommodate that locally, but also on the grander scale.
Sure.
So thank you for that.
Mr. Connell, once again, thank you.
Thanks.
You have heard from the council, but I still state this. A grocery store is our #1 priority.
Yes, ma'am.
And I like what you said. You recommended that we partner with a business for a truck stop location. And my only concern with that, I agree, but the liability, I do not want it to fall on the city.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Madam Secretary.
Citizens' comments?
Yes, ma'am. Our first person is Andrea Forte. You have 4 minutes. Andrea? Good evening, ma'am. You have 4 minutes. And if I mispronounce your name, oh.
Can I start? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. I am here. I want to address 2 of the things on the agenda tonight. Those are the accessible hazard alert system, which is going to be on this. And I'm reading because I get lost in my words. I don't hear myself. So it's an excellent resource for our community since it provides a multi-layered approach. This approach is more fluid than our Code Red system. Code Red system is often delayed when I can sit and I get the Code Red alert. My husband doesn't get it for 30 minutes, which is a big issue. Whereas the AHA system, the AHAs, I actually get them from Austin Travis County currently, which doesn't necessarily apply to ours, but I can look at it, and if I see something is coming from Austin Travis County and coming north into Bell County, Williamson and Bell County, I can monitor it, and I can be prepared that those storms are coming in, or whatever the case might be. The AHAS is visual, it's audio, and it's written, which means it applies to a lot of different options in our deaf and hard of hearing, our deaf, blind, and our low literacy. This is an excellent thing. I know that it's supposed to be a long-term, I believe it's 2 or 3 years that they write their contracts for. And I want it to continue. I want to see that Killeen starts to use this and it starts to branch out, because Austin Travis County is huge and they have this giant budget for things. But let's show that Killeen can play in those big fields and play right alongside Austin Travis County, because a lot of other communities, even our larger communities, don't have it up in the Dallas-Fort Worth. I don't know who all has it, but I know Austin does, and I'd like to see us right there. I'd like to see this AHAS maybe even bloom even more than the Code Red, because I know it works. It is an opt-in system. And I can tell you it works. I utilize it. Many of others utilize it. It provides a link to your cell phone. You go in, there is a ASL video, there is written text of the same thing, that's the same concepts that are being provided through ASL, and then it is written. So those that have a reader on their computer, they can get that same information. They can get it on their phone, they can get it on the computer, and then it gets shared out. I really appreciate this system. And I appreciate our emergency management department, particularly for pushing this. I brought it to them several years ago, and I really, really appreciate it after seeing this product utilized at the Texas Division of Emergency Management Conference. So I'm glad that the city is going towards that. The second one, the civil defense sirens, or what we call our warning sirens. We have, I don't remember how many across the city, but there is a large population of them up on the north side. Then there are sporadically throughout the south side of Killeen. We keep growing. Those sirens are very effective. Now, I can say right here, right now, I don't hear them. Unless I'm standing directly underneath it and it's going off, I can't hear it. But the other day, they got set off for that tornado warning. That tornado warning only incorporated a small portion of the city. It wasn't the whole thing. But all of the sirens went off, so everybody knew it was coming. I didn't hear them. My kids are outside playing and come running in. Mom, 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 the sirens are going off. I'm like, okay, I didn't know. But they heard it. They knew what the sirens meant, and they knew to come inside at that time. So these things actually work. And the thing is the biggest part of that being that they need to be set off in a very timely manner. Okay, so the city of Killeen actually has a document that shows exactly what is.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay.
But this is your first time. You do have the option to ask the council for an additional minute.
May I have additional, and I will be quick.
Councilman yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're
So you
welcome.
have a document that states what it's to be set for. So 1.5 inches, 1.25 inch hail, tornadoes, warnings that are put off by the National Weather Service, winds over 70 miles an hour, all can be set off by those that have the authority to do so. Having that set off in a timely manner helps so very, very much, and I really appreciate that. And I want to see more of those sirens placed as our city continues to grow.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Wow, that really makes us feel good. It feels good to know that our emergency management is doing what they do best. They're keeping people going. They're keeping emergency standards up to par. We thank you for being a wonderful emergency management, but most important, knowing that we're taking care of citizens and constituents in our city, that the health that even when you're not hearing, your children heard. So that means a lot. And thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. We like good stuff. Come on.
Melissa Brown, good evening. You have 4 minutes.
I like that. Oops.
Guess I'll start with the good stuff then. I highly support item number 8, which is increasing the allocated amount and spending limit for police uniforms, duty gear, and accessories. And I support item number 14, which is the rezoning on Horizon Drive from B3 to R3F. I think that it's very fitting to make sure that it fits in the surrounding area and puts it into its proper zoning since it's already a multifamily house. As far as the warning sign, I want to know if this is in addition to the incentives that were put out. That were put out for Anthem Park. I also noticed that there are no competitive bids on this. I feel like something of this nature, there are multiple companies that are capable of doing this. So even though it's through a co-op, getting competitive bids might get us a better rate I do appreciate that most of the stuff was discounted, though. I question having 50-foot steel poles in parks, especially the one on Green, because that is right next to residential areas. If something were to happen and that pole were to fall, it's falling into someone's house. I think that that becomes a safety issue. As far as the HVAC systems, I'm confused as to why a new HVAC system would not come with controllers, but also, according to the staff report, we are currently replacing, well, to quote it, it says they are currently being replaced. But yeah, we have a bid for it for $180,000 on the agenda. So are they currently being replaced, or are we trying to currently get them replaced? That's the question. And then when it comes to Bunny Trail, does Commissioner Schneider's company have a history of change orders? This is going to be paid out of bond money that is being paid out of the street maintenance fund that is supposed to go entirely and only to streets and curbs. We actually decided, I think, no sidewalks even with the street maintenance fund. However, this includes embankments, vegetative watering, irrigation, topsoil mulch, plant bed prep, concrete piping, and concrete driveways, along with sidewalks and other items. And I also don't see anything that takes care of drainage. So are we going to do new drainage throughout the same process? Otherwise, we're wasting our money working on paving Bunny Trail right now. As far as changing the outdoor lighting regulations, the way that this is written, there is no grandfathering in of anything. So that means all of our retail locations, these big areas, the Walmarts, the H-E-Bs, the strip malls, the gas stations, if they don't comply currently with what the new regulations would be, they will be required to go back and change that. Also, according to this, citizens would have to go get request someone come out and inspect their home if they want to put any kind of new lights on the outside of their home. As of right now, the ordinance doesn't call for a fee for that, but if you have a lot of citizens that are trying to follow the law, they want to put additional lighting outside, do we have the staff to do that? And how do we enforce this? Because lights only come on at night, and that's after code enforcement has already left for the day. So how do we enforce whether or not people are actually meeting these new regulations? I think that it was a good idea, but I think that it needs to be something maybe moving forward in new developments and new commercial, but not something that we burden current citizens with. And with that, I'm not even going to bother asking for a minute. Thanks.
Karen Durbin. You can pronounce it correctly. Good evening. You have 4 minutes.
I'm Karen Deerbaum. I'm a real estate broker with Lone Star Realty and Property Management. You just heard her reference 1103 Horizon. I'm here to represent the owner of that property. We had this property on the market for sale and quickly went under contract. During the appraisal process, they discovered the non-conforming status. Once the lender got wind of that, they said they could not lend on this property. So what has happened now is that we are going to see a lot of property owners unable to sell their properties because of the legal nonconforming. Upon hearing about this, I went down to planning and zoning, and I understand that there are literally hundreds of properties in Bell County that are falling underneath the nonconforming status. This has not been an issue until probably in the last year. As I understand, the council was made aware several months ago when an owner could not obtain insurance on his property. Now we have lenders that may be having a problem lending on properties that are legal non-conforming. So I'd like to urge the council to give higher priority status to this issue with the planning and zoning. I understand that they're aware and they're trying to work at things, but they've got a lot on their plate. Also, too, I would like to request respectfully that the owner of this property, who bought his property before the rezoning occurred, be reimbursed his fee for the rezoning, and that we make a sweeping correction on Horizon so that none of those owners are going to be caught in the same situation that we were. As I understand, in 1990, when this area was being developed, we were underneath the pyramid section of the zoning. And so what that meant was, as you went up, everything was permissible underneath. Our property owner bought it in 2003, and in 2006, this is when that change occurred, changing our regulation where they stood alone. And that's where the problem is coming is. Now you have hundreds of properties and owners that are totally unaware that this could impede their ability to sell their properties. So I'd like us to make it a priority, fix all the issues on Horizon, but I would also like to see a reimbursement to our owner who is adversely affected by this change. I heard one of our distinguished council members say a couple of months ago, it's always the right time to do the right thing, and I don't think the owner should be penalized for something that he knew nothing about, and he did not make a change himself in this. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Miss Gwen Allen? Oh, I apologize. Miss Adams, give me one moment. I didn't look over here. Councilmember Boyd. Give me
Thank you,
one
Madam.
moment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'll be very brief. I do agree with the speaker who just spoke. We did have this conversation a couple months ago about writing that correction, making that right. And so I do think if we could prioritize that within P&Z and city staff to align our misaligned zoning and versus the existing property type, that'd be good for the citizens dealing with this issue. Thank you.
Councilmember Segar, oh, you're welcome. Councilmember Segar.
My question was for staff. I know that this is going to be a rezoning request, right, for next week? But are we able to give direction during the workshop to look at this issue or come up with a system, a better system? Because I think we're going to see a lot more of these properties, as she mentioned, and I think that it is. So I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing if we give some sort of direction to staff to look into this during this workshop.
Sure, you can give direction. We've already started identifying those areas, and we're going to bring back some city-initiated zoning cases. And this area, I think, is probably the first one.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Wallace.
So we are putting a plan in place right now to do city-initiated rezonings across the city. Horizon Drive is on that list. There are a couple of clusters of areas that, as the applicant described, were under the pyramidal zoning scheme and are therefore zoned commercial but are actually residential. And so there are a few clusters. There are also some outliers. So we're putting a plan in place right now to begin addressing those sort of systematically. So you'll start seeing those shortly.
And what is the cost? You mentioned the cost for zoning. What does that cost look like?
The application fee for a zoning application is $500. So in this case, the applicant did pay that. For future items, they'll be city initiated, so there won't be a fee.
So we can make a motion next week when we approve this to reimburse them for that?
We have to see if it's legal. I just talked to Mr. Cagle. He's going to talk to legal about that.
Yeah, I just want to
So
make
we
sure
don't
before
know
next
yet.
week, we're clear on that. Okay.
Maybe a separate agenda item.
I'll discuss it with staff and look at it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
So that was kind of part of my question, but if we're putting a plan in place, as Ms. Mesher stated, what does that look like then for our current applicant for Dearborn in relation to this particular case? What does that mean for them?
For the current applicant, their request is on your regular agenda next week, so you'll vote on that. That'll address their concern. It'll certainly address their land use concern. I don't know that it'll address their fee concern, but for other applicants in a similar position that have properties that are existing non-conforming, like I said, we're gonna start bringing groups of those properties to you and rezoning small areas all at one time.
Sure.
And those will be city initiated, so there will be no fee, and it'll address this problem moving forward. So in other words, where we've been sort of reactive to this problem, we're going to start being proactive and addressing them sort of, as I said, systematically. And also the intent right now is to reach out to the property owners ahead of time, make sure that there are no concerns, because there may be some that are zone B5 and don't know that they're B5 and would prefer to keep their B5 zoning. So our intent will be to reach out to them, make sure everybody's on board with having their property rezoned. And if they're not, we would sort of not rezone it and only rezone those properties that are in agreement. But it would address the problem proactively.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Gwen Allen. Thank you for your patience.
Absolutely.
Good evening. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me just 4 minutes. I want to say thank you, actually. I know I don't hear that very much probably, but to whoever made the timely announcement sending the code red and the sirens last week. I was out, I pulled up to the grocery store and they went off. I am hard of hearing, but I do wear hearing aids. So I made the decision not to go into that metal can that's a grocery store that has glass doors for entry and glass doors that have refrigerator and freezer items, because those and the projectiles of the cans and the bottle is not a place I want to spend a tornado. So thank you to whoever made that timely decision and sent that out. And also, please go ahead and approve the purchase and installation of more sirens as we grow, and we are growing. Also, I have deaf family members that don't hear that. So I'm here to advocate for the accessible hearing hazard alert system also. I have family members and I have met more people who are deaf. They are underrepresented in our community. Please approve this, because this is wonderful. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
Discuss items for regular city council meeting on May 14th, 2024. Minutes, MN 24010. Consider minutes of regular city council meeting of April 9th, 2024.
Resolutions.
RS 24075. Consider a memorandum resolution entering into a contract with Deaf Link Incorporated for the Accessible Hazard Alert System in the amount of $113,133.
Thank you so much. Mr. Perez, you're a hero tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council and Management. How are y'all doing tonight?
Fine.
All right, so as you've heard, I am very excited to finally be presenting this item about the Accessible Hazard and Alert System, abbreviated as the AHA system. So I'm sure you all remember back in 2019, there was an agreement with the Department of Justice over some ADA requirements, and it required the city of Killeen to send emergency notifications in accessible formats, which include sign language. DeafLink Incorporated is the company that owns and operates the Accessible Hazard Alert System, and it provides the ability to send alerts into ASL videos with English, voice, and text. I should also add the caveat that in future years, if we also decide, they could also do Spanish as well, but right now our current contract is for English. The Accessible Hazard Alert System is an opt-in subscriber-based system. Just like our current Code Red system, people need to go to it and register, or they can call our office once it's set up for assistance in getting subscribed to that. The service is 24/7, and it sends accessible emergency information for persons who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, deaf-blind, and those with literacy challenges to their device of choice when they register. That Accessible Hazard and Alert System is also compatible with the federal iPAWS system. iPAWS are the wireless emergency alerts that come over your phone, and then the emergency alerts that come over your TV and your car radio. Nope, I missed one, sorry. So how it works. So if we're able to complete this contract, then DeafLink Incorporated will set up a website for the city that they'll work with us on branding. They'll manage that website as well, and all the web pages on the site will be accessible with an ASL English video and text, which is formatted for Braille reader accessibility. So it's not just so much that the screen will read it back to them, but if somebody has a Braille reader, you have to format your text a specific way for that Braille reader to get that information correctly. The alert link, which is sent to subscribers through either a text or an email to either a computer, a tablet, or web-capable Braille readers, which before I started this project, I did not know was a thing. They'll get a link that will take them to this video and more text and information. If needed, the alert can also include a map or other graphic that helps them to better understand the situation. And so just for a clear understanding, the past week has been very stormy in Texas, and then especially, of course, in Oklahoma area. And so over the past week, this company has sent out 85 alerts to the southeast Texas area all the way up to Oklahoma City, covering those storms. So every time there was a flood warning, every time an area there had a tornado warning, they're a 24/7 operation, and they were sending out those alerts. So this is an example and it does look small on the screen, I'm scared of that, sorry. So the left side of the screen over here is actually a clipping of what the web page could look like. And so when somebody goes there, here at the top, I know you can't see it's too small, but it has a home and active alerts, things of that sort. So if someone goes to the active alerts, they'll see a video with that active alert and somebody is signing to them. They're also hearing what that person is signing as well. And then the text or the information is there. This specific alert also has a map to give them more information, and so that is there as well in order to give the end user as much information as possible. I have a very quick little video that we have from the company here that we're going to play.
The National Weather Service has issued a winter storm watch in effect from Monday afternoon, January 30th, through Wednesday morning, February 1st. Significant icing possible due to freezing rain. Total ice accumulations of 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch possible. Difficult travel conditions are possible during the Tuesday and Wednesday morning commutes, especially across the hill country. End of alert.
So something that's really important to get from that, and I did not know this until I started doing research into the project, but ASL is not just the hand movements, but it's also body language, it is facial expressions, where you're looking, all of that actually sends the message. And so it's really important for people to be able to see that video and in such a large format as well. Maybe? Can I go to the... Thank you. So this is the cost breakdown, and it is a 3-year contract. And so for this first year, for fiscal year '24, you'll see that there's a one-time setup fee of that $12,000, which helps set up the website. It also helps us with branding and messaging so that we can get out into our community. Luckily, DefLink, this community is a very close and tight-knit community, so they already have some contacts. And of course, as you've heard tonight, we also have contacts within our office as well that we're able to get this information to, so they can help get the people in our community who need it signed up for it. And then the services for this year are obviously prorated because it's not a full 12 months at that $13,684. Fiscal year '25 cost is here. It's the full year of service fee and fiscal year '26 as well. And so that service fee is going to include website hosting, unlimited alerts that are sent out, just like our Code Red emergency alerts, as well as 2 videos. So our preparedness videos can be something as simple as how to prepare a Go kit, which is something that our AmeriCorps members go out and talk about, but we don't have anybody who can give that message in sign language. So creating a short video is something easy we can do that is continuity and is out there. And then, of course, maintenance on those servers. So this conforms to city policy upon approval by the resolution by City Council. Purchases made through a sole source are exempt from the competitive bidding process as stated in Texas and Local Government Code. And this is a sole source that has already been approved, and the funds are already budgeted for this fiscal year. Our recommendation is that City Council authorize the city manager or designee to execute all necessary agreements and any and all amendments within amounts set by state and local law for the accessible hazard alert system from DefLink. Also here tonight, if you'd like, Council, is the president of DefLink Incorporated, Mr. Dan Heller, from San Antonio. So if you'd like, he could come up and also answer questions or speak for a moment.
Well, since he drove all the way from San Antonio, we're going to do some Team Killeen courtesy and allow him to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to
Good evening.
Killeen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have to say, the city of Killeen is setting the bar pretty high, in part because you're a smaller community that is now taking the approach of the whole community for alerting, warnings, preparedness, and emergency management. I want to thank the interpreters that are here. I need to tell you that across this country, there is a major shortage of interpreters. It is a singular issue which can to some extent be resolved by the use of technology, so receiving alerts in American Sign Language means that interpreters can be using their hands in other ways to get the message out, as opposed to, in some cases, having to be on site. I will tell you that these two interpreters here are awesome. We're thankful that they're here in the state of Texas working for your community and other communities. I want to thank Andrea for her efforts in supporting this, and the other young lady that was up here. Thank you. Those are the folks that for years have been left out of this communication during an event. So Killeen joins an increasing network in Texas. Fort Worth has the program. Austin, Travis County has the program. Harris County has the program. San Antonio has the program. So for a smaller community to recognize the need and step up and do this, this is really awesome. So I can't thank you enough for what you're trying to do. Peter gets it, and I have to tell you, I've spent 22 years trying to help emergency managers understand that their community is missing. There's a gap in that communication stream. And he's one of the young men that gets this. So you have an awesome emergency manager
We do.
In your community.
We do.
So just to let you know, the last 10 days have been extremely busy, as you know. So from Oklahoma City, last night, 12 alerts going out for those communities up there. We had obviously the flooding issues over in Harris County. The one thing you should know is that we monitor the National Weather Service independently. So whenever it issues an alert, we automatically kick it out to the community. The other thing that can happen, and happens a lot, is that you may have shelters that are set up in a given area. You need to get that information to the deaf community as well. So Peter's office would drive that information to us, and we would send it out to those subscribers, that are part of the system. And, social media plays a big part in this as well. So those same alerts that would go out through a subscriber-based system can also be grabbed and put up on social media. So I just want to thank you for this community's efforts to include everybody in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And Mr. Perez, thank you for bringing such a valuable resource into the community. Thank you. With that being said, Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. Mr. Perez, this is quick, or Mr. Cagle. Is there a reason why we can stop, we have to stop at 2 years past this? Or can,
Are
because
you
this, I
asking
know
why
it's
the
so.
contract is 3 years, sir?
Yeah, well, 2.5, yeah.
2.5? It was just the number I chose. I don't know.
Okay.
As initially, they were 1-year contracts, and after speaking with budget, obviously to forecast and be able to budget for things, they said it'd be easier if we could try our best to do multiple years with obviously legal's wording of us being able to get out year after year.
Yeah.
And so we settled on 3 years. I think finance helped me look at other contracts that the city has, and most of those were based off that same timeline.
Okay, and even since the president's here, if we decide to go further, maybe a discount too. But I just thank you for answering that question.
Madam Secretary.
RS 24076. Consider a memorandum resolution approving the purchase and installation of equipment for the outdoor warning siren capital improvement project from Federal Signal in the amount of $99,952.80.
Mr. Perez.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. This item before you is for our capital improvement project, which was already funded in the plan at a total of $110,312. This current funding is going to move the current siren we have at the fire support station here off of Avenue D and 2nd Street to the park that is located on Green Avenue and 2nd Street over by the Clean Arts and Activity Center. It's also going to install a brand new siren at Long Branch Park. So currently there is not a siren at Long Branch Park. I think when I first got here, that pole was was leaning, so for safety reasons, we took it down, and so this is going to put one back there. And also to comment about the siren removing, or that we are moving, the siren head is gonna stay the same, but it's getting a new pole and a new cabinet. Inside the cabinet are the batteries, the modulars, the actual part that makes the siren work. So we're not necessarily just moving it, but we are upgrading it and getting it newer as well. So we're gonna go from 22 sirens to 23 sirens, and then it will also finish a security upgrade project to the siren system. Just a little bit of information about our siren system here in Killeen. So we have these mechanical sirens, which some people call bullhorns. Those are the ones that rotate. They're called mechanical sirens because the way it makes its noise is basically there are parts inside the siren that spin and force air through, and that's how it makes its noise. The modular siren that you see over on your right-hand side, I call those spaceship sirens because they look like spaceships stacked on each other. Just think of those like digital, really powerful digital speakers. That is how they make the noise. And each stack is a set of 4 speakers. And so the mechanical sirens are rated to go for about a mile, and that's in perfect conditions, meaning no wind, no tornado, no train, right? And so those are rated to, you could probably hear those up to a mile. The modular sirens really depends on which ones you have. Most of ours are able to be heard up to half a mile, but this one here in this project that is quoted is one of the brand new ones from Federal Signal that is also rated to go up to a mile, and it's actually going to be 8 stacks. Most of ours that we have are 4 stacks, so you'll see these will be a little bigger. Our siren use, so whenever we sound the sirens in my office, we do have a policy, and that policy is on the website as well. And so anytime there's a tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service, and they draw and include City of Killeen in their drawing on the map, we go ahead and sound those sirens. A tornado warning by the National Weather Service means a tornado is imminent. That doesn't mean a tornado can't change its mind, but that does mean that for their forecasting, that area needs to take cover immediately. Also, trained weather spotters, which may identify a tornado is forming in or near Killeen, hail greater than 1.5 inches, severe thunderstorm warning with winds greater than 70 miles per hour, and then other emergencies as directed by my office. A lot of times that would be in conjunction with police or fire, depending on what we're seeing. If there's a large gas spill and there's a gas cloud, remember that the purpose of the sirens is to tell community members outdoors to go inside and tune to media or something to get more information about what's happening. And that's why we do not call them tornado sirens. We only call them outdoor warning sirens. Other emergencies that we send out obviously would be through our Code Red system. So we always encourage our community members to sign up for Code Red. Fort Cavazos will sound their sirens when it's all clear. We will not do that because what we have found with many other municipalities across the country, it confuses folks. So what we will do is we will send an all clear message out through Code Red. So we encourage our community members to sign up for the emergency notification system through Code Red, which they can do at that website or by scanning that QR code. This is the budget breakdown. So to move the siren from Avenue D all the way up to that park, the cost of the new siren are to finalize our security upgrade, labor, and then we have some contingency remaining in case something happens while we're digging the hole and we need to move or we need to move a pipe, something of that sort. We have some contingency there that we're able to plan for. Some of the questions that came up from community members was why only one company? And I do want to say that our manufacturer system here, I think there's a total of 3 manufacturers in the country. Our manufacturer is Federal Signal. That is who makes our sirens. They do not do the work. So what they do is they train and certify people to do the work. Or I've lived in communities who don't use trained and certified people to do the work. But we in Killeen choose to use the certified folks. So what we do is we ensure that any contractor that works on the sirens is trained by Federal Signal and certified by them and only uses manufactured parts by Federal Signal. Some folks will give you a different siren manufacturing part, and then you start having more issues. So our company does use this. So the co-op is actually a Federal Signal co-op. And then there's 2 companies that are able to actually do the work. This was the company that gave me the bid. The other part is, I think one of the other questions was the issue or the concern around such a tall pole. So it's important to remember that most utility poles are anywhere from 30 to 60 feet tall, and then they're buried about 10 feet into the ground. So that's not 50 feet in the air. You're probably still going to have about 40. This pole, the contractor was here this past week doing our annual maintenance and working on our sirens, and we actually took them by Green Avenue Park. If you can envision it, there's a lot of there's an electrical substation there, so they actually have very large power lines, power poles there that are, the really thick, tall ones. Ours are not going to be that tall. Ours are barely going to be taller than most of the electrical poles that are already there, and that's because of the siren head on top. So this project also conforms to city policy upon approval of the resolution, and purchases made through a cooperative contract are exempt from the competitive bidding process as stated in Texas Local Government Code, and funds are already budgeted in the CIP budget for this fiscal year. Our recommendation is that staff recommends that the city council authorize the city manager or designee to execute all necessary agreements, any and all amendments with amounts set by state and local law for this purchase. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Madam Secretary.
RS 24077, consider a memorandum resolution amending the previously authorized spending limit for the purchase of police uniforms, duty gear, and accessories from Galls LLC from $50,000 to amount not to exceed $78,000 for FY 23-24.
Thank you. Good evening, Chief Lopez.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. In October 2023, City Council approved the purchase of police uniforms and duty gear from Galls LLC in an amount not to exceed $50,000 under Resolution Number 23-174R. Since that time, additional equipment has been identified for purchase, and this vendor has the best available price and/or availability. The vendor is still a member of the TASB buy board. City staff is asking to increase the spending limit with Galls to an amount not to exceed $78,000. Previous fiscal year expenses to Galls for uniforms and other equipment was $162,090. Expenses for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 so far is an amount of $45,000. Projected expenses for the remaining part of the fiscal year is going to go up to $78,000. The police department has budgeted funds available for this purchase. Our alternatives is to delay additional purchases into fiscal year 25 or approve the purchase as proposed. And city staff recommends that the city manager or his designee be authorized to amend the previously approved spending limit with Galls through the TASB buy board, contract number 670-22, in an amount not to exceed $78,000 in for the current fiscal year and any change orders as authorized by law. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Lopez. Madam Secretary.
RS 24078, consider a memorandum resolution approving a fireworks display permit application at the Killeen Athletic Complex on July 6, 2024.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Mesher.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, the city's working on a downtown event called Red, White, and Blue Festival to celebrate Independence Day, which will be held on January 6th. A public fireworks display is being planned for the event at the Killeen Athletic Complex and will be viewable from downtown. Section 11-6 of the Code of Ordinances provides that the City Council may permit the use of fireworks for public display. So there was an application submitted that includes the name, evidence of financial responsibility, all the code requirements. And the application was received on March 13th. And the Magic Display Pyrotechnics FX is the vendor for the fireworks this year. They'll be held on July 6th at 9:30 p.m. and they'll be shot off from the Killeen Athletic Complex. The fire marshal has reviewed the application and has found no significant findings, so staff is recommending that the council approve the application. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. There are no, Mayor Pro Tem.
Ma'am, I just have one quick question. Last year, we had an extraordinary fireworks display. Will this be the same company that held the displays from last year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you got me.
All right.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24079, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the purchase to replace the interior doors at the Killeen Civic and Conference Center from Integrity One Solutions in an amount of $82,558,000.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Messer.
Good evening.
Ms. McNair.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Council.
Tonight, I have with me Amanda Wilkinson, who is the director of the K3C for these next two items. The first one being the door replacement. Killeen Civic and Conference Center began operations in 2002. Exit and side ballroom doors were replaced in fiscal year '23. Doors that were not replaced have suffered damages from patron and vendor usage. Several doors lack proper hinge mechanisms and cannot lock properly, and the appearance of the doors lack a professional and inviting image, as damages are highly visible. Removal, replacement, and installation of interior entrance/exit doors to the ballrooms is available for purchase through cooperative vendor Integrity One Solutions, TIPS contract 24010-401. Purchase will include the replacement of 8 sets of doors. There is that one word missing from this presentation tonight to make it make a little more sense. But it is 8 sets of doors that are 30 by 8 by 10. And new doors will ensure safety for all that enter and exit the ballrooms and assist in noise attenuation. So we did put pictures in here so you can see what the doors actually are looking like. We do have on the picture on the right, you can't see it very clear, but there's Scotch tape on that. This door has electrical tape holding it together. We would like to recommend that the city manager is authorized or his designee to execute a contract with Integrity One Solutions in an amount not to exceed $82,558 for the removal of existing and installation of new doors to the ballrooms at the K3C.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24080, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the purchase to replace the existing HVAC control system at the Killeen Civic and Conference Center from Tempest Controls in an amount of $179,220,000.
Ms. McNair, there were some questions concerning this.
Yes.
Will you please address that? Thank you.
Took some notes, thank you. So my presentation is prelude or precedes the next presentation as far as the full HVAC installation. This is controls only. This is our immediate issue that we need to take care of. What Mr. Zagers will present has to do with the long-term installation and energy efficient system that will go in. So the controls were originally considered a part of what Mr. Zagers will present. However, they are not fully operational at this time. We are going into a summer season. His phase of the project is actually extended out maybe 10 months to a year for full installation into that center. So the control systems that we need to replace control the temperature in the K3C. Ms. Wilkinson will be able to tell you how much activity they get out there. We've been lucky so far that temperatures have been somewhat mild and sustainable, that we haven't had any issues. She was able to make the facility pretty cool so it doesn't exceed a temperature that is just highly uncomfortable to patrons and vendors. So we have ARPA funds allocated for the HVAC system, and that will replace 2 chillers and heating elements for 9 air handlers. It's January 2024. There was a major issue with the HVAC system. Temp set controls, they were the original installer of the control system. So this is the original control system going way over 20 years. Was contacted to bring the system back online. During the repair assessment, it was determined that the control system was malfunctioning and required a complete replacement. TempSet currently operates 13 City of Killeen facilities. This system allows the maintenance staff, building maintenance staff, to remotely operate the HVAC system, and Mrs. Wilkinson and her staff can also operate as well. This upgrade will let us use the Distech BACnet building automation system. It's a technology that uses a communication protocol to connect different devices and sensors in the building, allowing for centralized control and monitoring of the systems. Here's a list of the replacement costs: supply and install, control, software, design, as-built documentation, labor, startup, and point-to-point verification. And finally, system training. TIMSET controls form conforms to city policy based on the TIPS contract 220-10601. Purchases made through the cooperative contract are exempt from competitive bidding per Texas Code Section 271.102. Staff recommends City Council authorize the city manager or his designee to execute all necessary contract documents with TIMSET controls for the replacement of the existing HVAC control system at K3C in an amount not to exceed $179,220.
Ms. McNair and Amanda, thank you both for what you're doing to make the Civic Center more marketable so we can keep it in use. It's bringing in revenue, and thank you for just taking care of it. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. Just if when we approve this, how soon? Because yesterday we had an event and it was, I don't usually sweat, but I was drenched. How soon will we be able to get that?
We'll be able to start next week, correct?
Once the approval.
You can come up.
Once we get the okay from city council, then they can come in a week or two.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you both. Madam Secretary.
RS 24081. Consider a memorandum resolution awarding bid number 2415 HVAC replacement at the Clean Civic and Conference Center to the Brandt Companies in the amount of $1,448,000.
Good evening, Mr. Zagers. It's always good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, fellow council members. So as stated, we're here to present the bid award for the HVAC replacement for the Clean Civic and Convention Center. Just a little history, and this project was in the 2022 capital improvement plan, and it included the full reconstruction of all the HVAC within the Clean Civic and Convention Center. It includes the full replacement, like I just said. Park Hill was our consultant that we selected, I think about a year and a half ago, that started and created the design and get the bid package ready, so we're going out for bids. Bids were opened on March 26th, 2024. And then while we were doing the design, we realized that the price was going to be very high. So what we did is we separated the bid out into the base bid for just the main chillers and then alternates for the other pieces. Alternate one, which was the replacement of the controls, was removed during bidding for obvious reasons because the existing system failed. We needed to get a replacement right away. So prior to the previous item, that we did that separately so we can continue the bid with everything else that was needed. Alternate two deals with the outside air returns and some modifications for the ductwork within the building. And then the alternate three was the electrical duct heaters that were needing to be replaced as well. We received three bids, one from Brandt, McNamara, and REC. The lowest apparent bidder was from Brandt for $1,448,000. And the city council has four options. We can reject the bids, we can award the bid to Brandt just for the base bid, which is just the coolers. We can award the Brandt the base bid plus alternate two, which would be $1,038,000. And that would include the heaters, and then the last one would be, alternate would be to award Brandt all three, or the base bid and the two alternates for the amount of $1,448,000 and get everything replaced. And then our recommendation is to award, that the city council award bid to Brandt for the construction of the HVAC replacement at Clean Civic Center. The base bid, alternate two and alternate three in the amount of $1,448,000, and authorize the city manager and his designee to enter into contract with Brandt, and authorize the city manager to execute any and all change orders within the amount set by state and local laws.
Thank you. And this is all ARPA funding.
I believe it is ARPA funds, yes.
Right. Thank you. Councilmember Adams.
Sorry, it's me again. As the reason why you removed the other bid because of the previous discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we
and so
removed it because it failed and we needed to get that replaced right away.
And so those controls will work with that, whatever we?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Or will.
Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24082, consider a memorandum resolution awarding bid number 2413, Bunny Trail Reconstruction to R.T. Schneider Construction Company, LTD, in the amount of $5,814,102.64.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Zager.
Okay, so we're here to present the bid award request for the Bunny Trail Reconstruction Project. It's been a long project that has been in the news and everyone's been wanting, so here we are. This was also in the 2022 Capital Improvement Project. It included the design and the construction for a Bunny Trail Street Reconstruction Project. The project does include full replacement of the roadway, curb and gutter, some sidewalk, some drainage, and then the drainage at the intersection of West Stan Schluter Loop. There was a question earlier about why we have to do all this. Well, when you cut down the road and you go down to a certain depth, you're going to rip up the curb, you're going to address people's yards, you're going to rip up some sidewalk. We also have to address ADA rules, federal requirements anytime we touch that sort of thing. So those were all included in the project. And yes, this does address the drainage at the intersection as well. Kimley Horn provided the professional services for the design and also the bid package. Bids were open and read aloud on April 2nd, 2024. We had 5 bids. Honestly, they were all great. They were all within our budget and significantly less. So we feel very fortunate about that, and we're going to take advantage and get this thing built. So R.T. Schneider was construction company LTD, was a parent low bidder at $5,814,102.64. The project limits are Stan Schluter Loop down to Canadian River Loop. And the recommendation from staff is to recommend the City Council award the bid to R.T. Schneider Construction Company for the construction of reconstruction of the Bunny Trail Reconstruction Project in the amount of $5,814,102.64. Authorize the city manager and his designee to enter into contract with R.T. Schneider Construction Company LTD, and authorize the city manager to execute any and all change orders within the amount set by state and local law.
Thank you so much. This has been a long time coming. Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now you guys see the smile on my face. I know it's been a long process, but we're almost there. Several milestones had to be met to get here, where we're preparing to hire the contractor to reconstruct Bunny Trail. Today's milestone is having an award construction contract in front of us. And from this point, the next milestone is going to be the actual breaking of the ground or reconstruction process. So excited about that. For citizens who aren't aware, what has to happen at Bunny Trail is similar to what's happening now at Gilmer Street, where they're having to go pretty deep, remove that base, and then rebuild with varying layers of material up to the actual surface that we drive upon. And as we mentioned, the project also includes reconstruction of the drainage issue that we have at the intersection of West Stan Schluter Loop and Bunny Trail. Excuse me. And so this is a costly project, but it not only took time, it took citizen input, right-of-way acquisition, it took designing, it took the council action just to get to this point. But with all that said, I do have 4 questions to ask on behalf of my constituents regarding the process that we're going into here shortly. When might the contractors get started once awarded the construction contract?
It typically takes about a month after we get the council award, because the contractor has to get all the bonds, we have to get the contracts all signed, and then they have to align and contract up their subcontractors. And it typically takes about a month before they can start breaking ground.
Thank you, sir, for that information. Next question, when might, or how long might the entire construction process take once started?
I believe it's about an eight-month project on this one, at least what we're tentatively scheduled with the contractor.
Very good, thank you for that information. And what traffic or access disruptions might residents come to expect during the phases of construction?
So we're going to be doing some lane shifting. It's a very we'll get it down to 2 lanes, 3 lanes during construction, so there'll be some shifting to right and left as we kind of split construction down the whole alignment. Still maintaining access to all the businesses, all the homes, all the intersections, but there'll be just those kind of narrowing of the roads as we go and ripping up pieces at a time.
Understood. And the last question I have, is there a plan to address the remaining stretch of Bunny Trail or the southern portion close to State Highway 201 where it's experienced some deterioration but is not at the point where it needs to be reconstructed?
Yes, as soon as we're done with this project, we'll be looking at putting that on the overlay list.
Okay.
We're coordinating right now, getting everything coordinated for the next 5 years, but the southern portion from Cascade, our Canadian Loop down to the intersection, the signal will be mill and overlaid.
Understood. And that's because the base is not bad at that portion, correct?
It's a different material and the road's holding up a lot more, so it's not deteriorated to the point where you need to do a full reconstruction. You can just do that mill and overlay similar to what we just did on Tremere.
You just said it very well, and that's similar to what's also happening now at the loop at Clear Creek or State Highway 201. Thank you for that information.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we talked on the safety task force, some locations. Now, thinking the design we already put in, I know we're not doing we approved the design that was based on what the residents wanted, but are we addressing it with the lighted flashing crosswalks as like we're doing in Rosewood and a couple other places?
We are looking, we are looking by the middle school where the existing crosswalk to put in those rapid flashing beacons. We just have the first one installed on Rosewood, so we're going to be installing another one in this location as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Sagers. Madam Secretary.
RS 24083, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with CP&Y for the design of the Lift Station Number 1 rehabilitation project in the amount of $321,375.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good evening, Mr. Conhy. Good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. The 2019 Water and Wastewater Master Plan includes Project R2S, which is for the rehabilitation of Lift Station Number 1. This lift station was built in 1995 and is located at 106 North W.S. Young Drive. This project includes architectural, electrical, and mechanical improvements to the existing lift station, which serves the northwestern part of the city. CP&Y, or now called STV, submitted a professional services agreement for the design and contract administration of Project R2S in an amount of $321,375. CP&Y has provided exceptional design and contract administration on several past water and sewer infrastructure projects. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager or designee to execute a professional services agreement with CP&Y STV for the design and contract administration of the Lift Station Number 1 rehabilitation project in the amount of $321,375 and authorize the city manager or designee to execute any and all change orders within the amount set by state and local law. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
RS 24084, consider a memorandum resolution approving a reimbursable agreement with the Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration for the Skylark Field Automated Weather Observation System relocation in the amount of $145,344.84.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, number 1. Good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to see y'all too.
Yes,
The
sir.
item we have before you today is, like was just read, is a reimbursable agreement with the FAA for the AWAS relocation. Just a little bit of background. Skylark Field has an FAA-owned and maintained automated weather observation system known as an AWAS. It's located on the west side of the airport, provides pilots with critical safety information on cloud height, visibility, wind direction, speed, as well as other weather information to assist pilots with safe flight. The FAA has standards for keeping the areas within 1,000 feet of the AWAS clear of obstructions that would affect the ability of the sensors to collect the accurate data. The proposed Anthem Park development, when constructed, would cause the existing AWAS not to meet FAA standards for that radius. Just a graphic here just to show you the area. In the red is the Anthem Park development. The yellow dot you see in the center is the location, current location of the AWAS. The green or blue circle is that 1,000-foot radius. To accommodate for the future development, it's necessary to relocate the AWAS. This is an area here that it looks like would be the best location. Again, that moves it to the east side of the runway and brings it away from the Anthem Park development area. On May 16th, 2023, the council approved a professional service agreement with Garver for the design service, project administration, bidding, and coordination with the FAA of the AWAS relocation. The design is currently 90% complete. Since the AWAS is owned by the FAA, it's their equipment, they require the city to enter into a reimbursable agreement to cover their cost to provide professional services that include engineering and design consultation with Garver, review and approval of the plans and specifications, frequency modifications and authorizations for the radios, locating and marking all the FAA-owned cables and conduits, construction oversight, and then once the project's finished, sensor calibration and system certification. Staff's negotiated a reimbursable agreement with the FAA in the amount of $145,344.84. This project is funded through the TERS and no impact to the aviation fund or fund balance. Staff's recommendation is that the council approve a reimbursable agreement with the Department of Transportation's FAA for the Skylark Field Automated Observation System relocation in the amount of $145,344.84 and recommends that the council authorize the city manager designate to execute all contract documents and any and all change orders or actions set within the limits of state or local law. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Public hearing? Public hearing will be held on May 14, 2024. Madam Secretary.
PH 24013. Hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance submitted by Karen Dearbaum on behalf of J.C. Franklin, case number Z2407, to rezone Lot 7, Block 1, Sunrise Vista from B3 Local Business District to R3F Multifamily Residential District. The subject property is locally addressed as 1103 Horizon Drive, Killeen, Texas.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I jumped the gun on you. Welcome back, Ms. Messer.
Thank you. This item is a request to rezone the property at 1103 Horizon Drive from B3 to R3F. The red star indicates the location of the subject property. This is an aerial, so as you can see, the request is simply to rezone this one existing quadplex on Horizon Drive from B3 to R3F. So as I explained earlier, this property, this entire development on Horizon Drive is all Zone B3 currently. When the zoning ordinance was changed to no longer allow pyramidal zoning, these properties became legal non-conforming. So that makes it difficult for buyers to obtain financing, and so that was what prompted this particular request. So in this case, as I said, the request is just for this one lot to rezone it to R3F to make it conforming with the zoning ordinance. This is a picture of the subject property. These are the adjacent properties to the east and to the west. And this is the property across the street. This is designated residential mix on the future land use map. Staff does find that the applicant's request is consistent with the future land use map. Property is designated neighborhood infill on the growth sector map. Again, this is consistent with the neighborhood infill place type. Request supports or furthers several recommendations of the comp plan, including encouraging incremental evolution of neighborhoods and shifting the market to include existing housing. It's located within Development Zone 4. We notified 39 surrounding property owners, and we've received no written responses regarding this request. This is the notification boundary for this item. And with that, staff does find that the applicant's request conforms to the recommendations in the comp plan, and we are of the determination that the request is consistent with the character of the surrounding area and are therefore recommending approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission on April 1st recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
PH 24014, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending Chapter 31 of the Clean Code of Ordinances providing for outdoor lighting regulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Mesher.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This item is an ordinance amending Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances regarding outdoor lighting. As you will remember, on January 23rd, the council made a motion of direction to direct staff to prepare an outdoor lighting ordinance to expand the current outdoor lighting regulations associated with the University District and the Cemetery District, and to make these standards applicable to all zoning districts. If approved, the proposed ordinance will help to prevent outdoor lighting nuisances like glare, light trespass, and will also help to preserve the integrity of the night sky. As written, the proposed ordinance prohibits light trespass onto adjacent properties and rights-of-way and prohibits uplighting with exemptions for flagpoles and public art. The proposed ordinance states that all outdoor lighting fixtures shall be shielded to direct lighting downward and oriented in a manner that ensures that all illumination is contained within the source property. Section 31-897 includes outdoor lighting standards for commercial, manufacturing, and multifamily development, and Section 31-898 includes standards for single-family and two-family development. Proposed ordinance also addresses the maximum height for freestanding and wall-mounted exterior lights, with the limit being 8 feet for freestanding lighting in single-family and two-family, and 10 feet for wall-mounted. And then in the commercial and multifamily zoning districts, the height limit would be 15 feet for freestanding signs and 12 feet for freestanding lights and 12 feet for wall-mounted lights. If approved, the proposed ordinance will require any person wishing to install or use exterior lighting that requires a permit to request a site plan review and obtain approval for such lighting from the building official. The required site plan must fully comply with the general regulations in the ordinance and specify the location, height, and type of all exterior lighting. I also want to point out that in accordance with the Texas Local Government Code, there is a section that prohibits municipalities from regulating outdoor lighting except within 5 miles of an active military base. So for that reason, the proposed ordinance is only applicable within 5 miles of the boundary of Fort Cavazos. So this is a map showing everything within 5 miles. There's a small piece down at the very southeastern corner of our city limits to which this ordinance would not be applicable. The proposed ordinance includes exemptions for temporary lighting, holiday decorations, civic events, construction projects, provided that such lighting does not cause light trespass or a driving hazard. And with that, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the proposed ordinance as presented. And the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 18th also recommended approval of the ordinance by a vote of 6-0. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Bullock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we're ready to get out of here. So the proposed ordinance states that all outdoor lighting fixtures shall be shielded to direct lighting downward and oriented in a manner that ensures that all illumination is contained within the source property. This ordinance is important in that it places a focus on poorly installed and intentionally installed exterior lighting, which serves as a nuisance to neighboring residents in some areas across our city. We literally have citizens who live next to folks who carelessly project light across their property. And I'm mentioning this because I actually received a couple calls about this over the past 3 years, and recently one within my subdivision where I witnessed a case where a citizen installed a light directly on the side of the house and in the back of the house, where the light flooded the 5 properties, at nighttime, which was really interesting. So I'm glad to see such a proposal from staff to counter the issue. I know this was at large or Councilman Adams' initiative, and I think it's great for us, but I did have 2 questions that are very relevant. How do we effectively enforce the ordinance when the violations would occur at night?
Absolutely. Typically, most code enforcement violations are complaint-driven, so if we received a complaint, code enforcement would, on a case-by-case basis as needed, go out during after hours in order to inspect.
Okay. And the last question I have is, how would existing violations be handled? For example, a homeowner having installed an existing exterior light which does not shield downward but outward.
Does not shield downward but outward.
This is a violation.
The ordinance essentially, existing non-conforming, things that are currently in place are considered grandfathered or legal non-conforming. So if it obtained a permit and was installed lawfully, then it's allowed to continue.
Okay. I guess my concern here is the folks who are getting away, if you will, with projecting light in their neighbor's property at nighttime.
So I can foresee, as I said, if the light was installed lawfully with a permit, if there's a light fixture that required a permit and didn't obtain one, that could potentially be a violation. If it didn't require a permit in the first place, if there's no electrical associated with it, say it's a solar light or something like that, then it would be considered grandfathered.
Sure. So in other words, if staff learned that the home installed a light without a permit, then it would be in violation and get caught, essentially.
Most likely.
Understood. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I just have a quick question. Is that something we may need to put in our water bills to let the persons know when is it permitted or not permitted? I may go home right now and install a light. I don't know that I need to have it. I don't know I need a permit. I think sometimes people don't know what they need. That may be something we might want to share with everyone.
Yes, ma'am, we can do that.
Please? Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I do agree with you. That's something that if there's going to be a penalty for it, that the public should be aware. And we also have other resources, Mr. Cagle, we can use as if Janelle through communication. If Councilmember Sagara. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, that was what I was going to say. Motion to adjourn.
And Madam Mayor, I second, but I want to add Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I second the motion. I say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Thank you, Councilmember Sagara, Councilmember Adams, and yes, Happy Mother's Day. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.